My name is Elizabeth Hackes, and I'm going to be reading the questions and the answers to the questions about the reading we had for this week, which was IR as an academic subject. The first question was to identify the major debates within IR, and why do the debates often linger on without any clear winner emerging from them? The answer would be there have been 3 major debates since IR became an academic subject at the end of the First World War, and we are now in the early stages of a 4th. The first major debate was between utopian liberalism and realism, the second between traditional approaches and behavioralism, the third between neorealism and neoliberalism, and neo-Marxism. The emerging 4th debate is between established traditions and post-positive alternatives. There's really no clear winner emerging since all debates that have emerged have different ideas and concepts. There's not one where everybody can comply on or agree on. They differ in between their focuses and can't really agree upon one. So debate just goes on and on. This is with different ideas and focuses, and there probably won't be a winner until we're able to agree just upon one of them. The second question is, which are the established theoretical traditions in IR, and how can they be seen as established? They are realism, liberalism, international society, and international political economy, which can also be IPE. They can be seen established because they deal nonetheless with international problems that are of lasting significance, such as war and peace, conflict and cooperation, wealth and poverty, development and underdevelopment, and goes on and on, so etc. on that. Third question is, why was early IR strongly influenced by liberalism? This goes back to when the United States was drawn into the war in 1917. Its military intervention decisively determined the outcome of the war. It guaranteed victory for the democratic allies, which is US, Britain, and France, and defeat for the autocratic Central Powers, Germany, Austria, and Turkey. At that time, the United States had a president, Woodrow Wilson, who had been a college professor of political science and who saw it as a main mission to bring liberal, democratic values to Europe and to the rest of the world. Only in that way he believed he could have a great war, or have a war be prevented. In short, the liberal way of thinking had a solid political backing from the most powerful state in the international system at that time. Academic IR developed first and most strongly in the 2 leading liberal democratic states, which was the United States and Great Britain. Liberal thinkers had some clear ideas and strong beliefs about how to avoid major disasters in the future by reforming the international system and also by reforming the domestic structure of autocratic countries. A clear example can be set on President Wilson. President Wilson had a vision of making the world safe for democracy that had wide appeal for ordinary people. It was formulated in a 14-point program delivered in address to Congress in January 1918. He was awarded the Nobel Prize in 1999. His idea influenced the Paris Peace Conference, which followed the end of hostiles and tried to institute a new international order based on liberal ideas. The next question is, seen over the long term, realism and dominant theoretical tradition in IR, and why? Realism became the dominant way of thinking about international relations, not only among scholars but also among politicians and diplomats. Martinez' summary of realism in his 1948 book became the standard introduction to IR in the 1950s and 1960s. Yet it is important to emphasize that liberalism did not disappear. Many liberals conceded that realism was the better guide to international relations in the 1930s and 1940s, but they saw this as an extreme abnormal historical period. Liberals, of course, rejected the deeply pessimist, realist ideas that humans were plain bad, and they had some strong counter arguments to that effect, as well as we should see later on. Finally, the post-war period was not only about a struggle for power and survival between the United States and the Soviet Union and their political military alliances. It was also about cooperation in international institutions such as the United Nations and its many special organizations. Although realism had won the first debate, there were still competing theories in the discipline that refused to accept permanent defeat. Therefore, realism, having won the first major debate, remained the dominant theoretical approach in IR until the second debate about mythology changed that situation. And the last question would be, why do scholars have pet theories, and what is my own theoretical preference? Well, scholars have their own pet theories because the new IR scholars have a very different academic background and equally different ideas concerning how IR should be studied. And my own theoretical preferences would be, I would go with liberalism. Why? Because as I read about it, I saw that the main or central idea shows to have prevention of war, focusing mainly on following or having a clear idea on our international laws, the organization, our independence, cooperation, and most importantly, maintaining peace. It would clearly state for us how to keep order and peace without having to create a war, but the whole opposite. That would be all. Thank you.